torrential downpour, but thank you for being here. And Mr. Clerk, Brian Leahy, would you please call the roll?
Councilor Caulfield.
Here.
Councilor Broderick.
Here.
Councilor Mercier.
Here.
3 present.
I also want to acknowledge Manager Lynch, Assistant City Manager Adam Becky, Tom Moses, our CFO, Aaron Clausen, Kendra Emerald, Gunther Wallenstein, and Eric Eby, traffic engineer. And Henry Marchand, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Henry.
Joe Mendoza.
Yeah, I have him. Henry Marchand, assistant to the manager, and also Councilor Joseph Mendoza. And we're here for 2 reasons. There's 2 falls. One is on the illegal dumping that Councilor Elliott brought a motion to refer this to the subcommittee, and also residential parking signs. And we'll take the illegal dumping.
I'm sorry to cut in like this, but we have 2 women out there that are ready to go somewhere very quickly, and they're here for the parking, if you don't mind.
But I was told to wait until more people could show up, okay?
Oh.
So,
Maybe we let them speak, and then they have to leave.
well, we have all these people here. Okay? All right. The illegal dumping issue, then to my left is Councilor Kevin Broderick, to my right is Councilor Rita Mercier. And the illegal dumping issue, I think, has picked up rapidly ever since that designated inspector was taken off and moved to another department. And maybe a month and a half or so ago, I brought forward 45 violations, and the manager and inspectional services addressed that. But if I went out there right now, I'd find another 45 violations in the city. And I think the question that I have, and I think the subcommittee has, is do we have a person once a week going through the city to see where TVs, bureaus, mattresses, etc. are being placed? We did place cameras up at Plain Street and Foundry Avenue, and hopefully that won't happen again because there's cameras there. But if those cameras weren't put there, there'll be just a continuation of people disposing of trash and debris. So I'll turn it over to you people, and if you can answer it, do we have someone designated to go out the city and then report back, or what, Manager Lynch?
Sure. Councilor, I think that I may disagree somewhat. I think illegal dumping is a long-standing problem in every community. This is a topic of conversation. In fact, as you know, I was just away at a city managers conference, and I had the opportunity to talk to a number of communities managers, and this is a standard problem of illegal dumping, and it's happening everywhere as people treat their communities in a less than favorable way. And people have different ways of handling that. I think here in the city of Lowell, we have had illegal dumping. We've had it as long as I've been city manager, and I know it came well before me. We've actually increased the number of citations over the last several months, in spite of moving the individual that we had. We've actually increased, and I think we gave the council a report on that, and we'll get another copy of that to you, but we've increased the number of citations. We think enforcement has been stepped up with the help of that inspector who was working strictly in the Public Works Department. We now have a battery of inspectors that are doing solid waste inspections throughout the city. If I could draw a parallel, we have speeding as a problem in the city as well, and we don't have one police officer dedicated to speeding tickets. We have all police officers dedicated to speeding tickets, and the same goes for solid waste from our point of view, that the more inspectors we have out there, be they building inspectors, health inspectors, you know, we think it's important that we have as many people out there that are focusing on these issues, and they are required to make this a top priority throughout the city. What we have given you tonight is a report of, in addition to the fact that our number of citations has increased, we've put together a team of, because this does cross departments, we've put together a team of individuals that have been working from Public Works, from my office, from Inspectional Services out of DPD, with a number of recommendations to address the issue of illegal dumping and how people get rid of certain items. And we'd be happy to speak to that. And if I may, Adam or Kendra, perhaps could walk you through what we're doing, what some ideas we have, including using more cameras to get out there and track down people that are violating. We think that's worked very effectively. And certainly, if you have another 45 locations, Councilor, Mr. Chairman, please, everyone should bring in every violation that they find.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. What I'm trying to bring forward here, though, is I shouldn't be doing it. There should be an employee of the city once a week going through the city on a Wednesday. If a TV or a mattress, the pickup is on Friday, right, Kendra?
Bulky item is on Friday, so mattresses, furniture, things like that.
On Friday.
Yes.
If that debris is out there on a Wednesday, one, it's out there too soon, it's illegal.
Right.
And if it's out there on a Wednesday, it's probably been out there for a week ago Wednesday. Do we have one person going around the city and reporting back there's debris on certain sections of the city? Do we have that?
What we have is our sanitary code inspectors are assigned to districts in the city, and they are responsible every week for the day after their route that goes through their district. They have to go through and inspect that district, the route district, to make sure that there are no violations out there. So we're hitting the city geographically every day. Some days we're in Pawtucketville, other days we're in Centerville, but we are hitting the city every day to look for those violations.
All right, the second question that I have, how long do we let the debris stay out there?
I think that's the important question, and I think that's what you may be experiencing out there is in our effort to enhance the enforcement and create that situation where people are learning that you don't just put it out to the curb and expect that it'll go away. It does stay out there longer because we are trying to get a hold of the property owners and have them take responsibility for removal of it. Our goal is to have it be out there no more than 3 days after we've had the report of it. Obviously, we're still working through that to speed that up. I think the request had come in from the council of no more than 7 days, and we are trying to do better than that, but we do still need to do some work.
Okay, my colleagues?
Yes, thank you very much. This is a very important issue, illegal dumping and the rules that we changed. I think, number one, we did a terrific job because it looks unified the way that the trash is today with the maroon receptacle. But I think human nature is such that people, it's not that they don't want to pay, in my opinion, the money. It's that if you have a sofa that perhaps it's not the decor that you want today, and it's really not that bad, people are putting it out in hopes that someone else can use it. That's how society is, that it's probably no good to me, but someone else can use it, and that's what they're doing. Having said that, then I believe they try to make it under the wire to make sure that if it isn't gone by, let's say, Thursday, Wednesday, they'll probably put it out Sunday, hoping by Wednesday it's gone. If it isn't, they're gonna try to, so I understand that. I know it isn't right probably, but that's what they're doing. But you just passed us off some rules and suggestions that I think the public should hear because it's absolutely the thoughts that we had probably. I know, I'm thinking it's beautiful. You get $15 for this item, or maybe 10 for that, maybe 20 for this. It's too confusing. A flat fee of $15 all around. To me, that makes sense. We're not guessing, well, gee, does this category, is this 15 or this 10? That's a good idea, beautiful. I think that's good. Then you're talking about issuing stickers before time so that we know that, gee, that's not illegally there. It's not Friday yet, but they get that sticker, so Friday, they're gonna pick that up. That's a good thing. I don't know that we have it yet, but when we were looking to see what would fit in the city of Lowell, we went to Manchester, we went to different communities. They had a tremendously beautiful, I know it'll take a while for us to do it, but they had established a bulky drop-off place. Because maybe I don't want to wait for Fridays or whatever. I want to get rid of it today. Or maybe I'll put it out tomorrow, get rid of it tomorrow. I happen to have a truck. My neighbor might want to get rid of something. We'll take my truck. We'll get rid of it for you. And of course, you're going to pay that $15 flat fee. But I did go to the neighborhood candidates night the other night. And one of the questions was, and I made a motion some time ago, it never went anywhere, but I remember all through the years, we had a citywide cleanup. One day was a citywide cleanup within 1 day a year. And I said, can we put out our stuff for that 1 day? Because I don't want people to say, oh, they have this program, $15 is quite a lot. Let's just shove it behind the garage in the back over there. Let's just stack it up. And I think that's happening in different neighborhoods and different places. So I don't know if we can revisit that again, and I think it would be a good idea. I think someone got that question last night, and they said, and one of the candidates said, yeah, why don't we have 3 times a year? I'll be happy with even just once. If we could, I don't know how much we'd lose, but how much would we clean up by just doing that? So that's my suggestion. Once a year, we give them a free pass. Next week is 1 day on a Saturday is a citywide cleanup. Put out the stuff that you don't want. You'd be surprised at the people that'll go around and could use a lot of that stuff. So I don't know, that's just something we could think about again. Thank you, yes.
Council Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, we got this handout that has some helpful suggestions, I think, and potential improvements to what we're doing now. And a couple of comments or questions that I have, just going through these bullet points here for whomever. I think one of the keys, and I can speak for myself at my house, is making it easy to do, because most people, I work Monday through Friday for certain, so if I'm cleaning out or doing things around the house, it's a Saturday or Sunday, so it would be a lot easier if there was a way for me to jump online at night or during the weekend and schedule a pickup, because typically it's, I gotta call Monday to get this picked up. I've got a stack of that stuff in my basement that it makes it difficult for me to get to, so I imagine others might have the same problem. The flat fee doesn't bother me. If we could also maybe get some information as to what other communities are charging. I assume it's in line. I know we had that grid when we set these fees a couple of years, probably 2 years ago now. And these stickers that would be provided beforehand, how would people get those? Because if you're ordering, I suppose it depends. If you call Allied Waste and give a credit card, how do you get a sticker? Does that mean they tell the city and the city mails a sticker out? Is someone dropping it off? That may create another potential issue there. And this 4 times a year or whatever, this bulky item drop-off area, or if we do it year-round, it would be helpful if it's open on the weekend, because again, I think a lot of people do this type of stuff on the weekend, and it would be helpful to complement the regular pickup. I do have a question on, it was brought up at the forum we had last night, and relative to, a quote-unquote free pickup day or days, whether it's 2 or 3 in the spring, fall, and maybe one over the holidays. And one of the, I don't want to say concern, but one of my questions, I guess, is it's not free for the city and the taxpayers, so what might be the cost of actually doing this? I think it's something we have to be aware of. I know now with the different trash system, it's, if there's issues that these have been going on since before I got on and since I've been on the council. We've changed the trash pickup scheme, and I think that it's easy to point and say it's because of that, it's worse. And maybe it may be as was pointed out, the enforcement now that we're enforcing, and it takes a little bit longer to do the enforcement than just go and pick it up in what we might have done in the past. So there's going to be a little bit of, I think maybe a learning curve in terms of the enforcement, but also sometimes it's like, training your kids. It's a little bit more work in the beginning, but after they get it, it saves you time and pain down the road. So I'm hoping that is the case as we fine-tune this, that things won't be out there for what looks like a long time, and that the city's ignoring it or not dealing with it. So I appreciate that information, and hopefully we can fine-tune that. I don't know if you have numbers offhand or where you would get them, but
If I could, Councilor, in terms of the comparison to other communities, Gunther Wellenstein and I were just talking that, for instance, in other communities, a mattress with a private vendor to Allied Waste or Waste Management is $32. So this going to $15 is considerably less. The other thing to keep in mind is many times when you buy something, a new sofa, or, well, maybe not a new sofa, but a mattress or an appliance, the people take it. Whoever you buy it from takes it from you. In terms of the cost of a pickup, again, we did an estimate before, I think. There was some talk before that we were exploring of a quarterly pickup. And that would cost about $350,000 per pickup we're going to double check those numbers, but that's the cost of driving the trucks around the city and then picking up whatever is out there and disposing of it. That's the numbers that Gunther and I were just talking about. If we only did it once a year, obviously you wouldn't have to drive the trucks around the whole time. You would only drive them around that one time. So then it would just be, obviously it would be substantially reduced on that portion of it, but you'd still have the additional tonnage. But we're going to double, that number is staggering to me as well, so we're going to double check those numbers. But when we look at how we've saved money on our solid waste program. Recall when the council and the administration put this new system in place, we really pushed for the idea of recycling, and that saved us a considerable sum of money. We renegotiated our contract, and that saved us a considerable sum of money. But the big change that then Assistant Manager McCarthy was adamant that we put in place is doing something with bulk items, because that was the big cost driver to us, and that's, in fact, what we're looking at for implementing a program of once or twice a year, driving the trucks around the city, picking it up, and then disposing of it.
thank you. And I do understand the philosophy of, we pulled our one solid waste, I'm not sure if I'm going to use the proper word here, solid waste inspector off, and now have him managing, and I don't know if I'm going to use the proper words here, cross-training, so that we have all of the inspectors doing the illegal trash solid waste enforcement. Is that correct? So that to me sounds like a good idea. We have more eyes out on the road, and hopefully, and what we saw the results is more citations going out and more enforcement. But I think it also creates a change in the culture of the inspectional services, where people are looking out for more than just what their title is necessarily. And might even be, and I don't know if we're doing this, but it might make sense to somehow educate, if we haven't yet, the police department. And they're out driving around all day, every day, and is there some system that is easy for them, because they're looking for crime, but if they see a couch out and they know solid waste pickup is Friday, is there a way for them to send something that would be instantaneous and quick for them, that they don't have to pull over, or they can pull over and they can send it fairly quickly? Because I think now you've got potentially another 200 eyes out there over the course of 24 hours that I think could be helpful as well, because Councilor Caulfield's right. He shouldn't have to do it. We all do it as citizens, I think, but I think it's a matter of making it easy for people to report, easy for people to schedule the pickups, and more difficult for people that, for whatever reason, don't want to comply. And I think that if we can get the police involved as well, that there's another set of eyes, and I think that it may be a quicker learning curve for the folks that don't want to comply with the new ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mercier. Councilor Broderick. It was $350,000 a year, Mr. Manager, just to one time go out to it?
likely be more than that. The number was $350,000 each time.
Each time
if
you
you
hit
did
the city.
if you did it quarterly, and that's including the tipping fee. That's including the cost of disposal, the tipping fee that we pay to Wheelabrator, but it's also the trucks driving around. So you could cut that. It wouldn't necessarily be, if you multiply that out, it's $1.4 million, which is high.
Okay.
If you were to only do it once a year, that number would drop, but it would not drop down to 350 because you'd still have the same amount of tonnage, but you wouldn't be driving around.
Right.
The trucks wouldn't be driving around. But Gunther, do you want to elaborate on that number?
Sure. Before Gunther does that, I just want to interject here. Many councilors, including myself, traveled to Worcester, traveled to Nashua, and other communities we went to, when we implemented this new trash system, and I like it. I think it's excellent. Part of that implementation was there were going to be a dedicated inspector going around every single day, especially 6 o'clock in the morning, to go around and inspect the red containers. Are the lids up? Is stuff coming out of them? And everyone was abiding by that law. Everyone was doing their thing and doing it right. And there wasn't illegal dumping as you see it now. It didn't exist because that inspector, and we all know who he is, just did an excellent job. Very, very, very dedicated to making sure everyone dotted the I and crossed the T. Now, the next question I have, Mr. Manager, that inspector is now in another department or doing other things. What's the salary of one inspector to make sure that everyone is doing the right thing?
Roughly, I don't know if that's top of my head. I think
45,000?
Probably 35,000 plus benefits,
35,000.
something like that. We do have, to remind the members of the subcommittee, we do have a grant that we just were awarded where we're going to have another staff person that's being paid for by that grant to do the enforcement of the ordinance, and particularly as it relates to recycling, but also the issues that you've raised regarding, which are different than the illegal dumping issue. There's the ordinance with regards to making sure the lids are down and all of those aspects.
But that inspector was out there,
And we're going to have that under the grant.
and that inspector is certainly going to look on Fort Hill Avenue at the 3 mattresses and the large screen TV that was out there for a month. For 1 month. And nobody reported it, no one did a thing. But if that inspector was going through that neighborhood, that inspector would have done that. And on Lincoln Street, I can go on and on and on, the people who are just dumping things in front of someone else's home or on someone else's sidewalk and say, I don't want it no more. I witnessed myself, and I call inspectional services. I talked to Kendra, I talked to your office, Mr. Manager. I witnessed a man on Nesmith Street, Upper Belvedere, put a leather couch on a sidewalk. I said, what are you doing? He said, it's a good couch, somebody will pick it up. I says, you know what you're doing to the city? You see the image you're creating? I said, no one's gonna pick it up. You're just disposing of it. He said, well, I'm cleaning out an apartment for the landlord. I says, the minute I called up, that couch was gone. I hope that gentleman got a fine. But you know what it is? We slack off, we back off, and they just start picking up. I would like to see something passed, Mr. Manager, that the fine is associated with the renewal of their car license and getting permits. And if someone's out there illegally dumping and they receive a fine, they don't pay the fine, and they don't come forward, then they're not going to get a permit in the city, they're not going to get their car license renewed. And I have so many people tell me, what's happened to the city? People don't live in the city, people who are coming into the city. And to see a couch and 2 mattresses on Westford Street or on Mammoth Road, it's disgusting. And I'm saying, you know, what is the cost, what's the salary of one inspector to make sure that everyone is doing the right thing?
All told, about $50,000 probably? 50
Well,
to
it
55?
certainly will cut into the $350,000 a year you spoke of. And Council Mercy suggested that maybe a 1-day pickup, you know, that would work for that 1 day. and the city would be inundated with debris.
We
But
can
you know
certainly-
what? A week later, people would be still illegally dumping. That's not the answer. The answer is they have to abide by the ordinance and the rules and regulations that the city has. And I just feel as though we're losing that set of eyes out there every day going up and down sidewalks and streets and neighborhoods. Ha-ha, this is a violation. Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. We're, excuse me, let me ask a question, I guess, rather than assuming. Are we tracking what our inspectors are doing on a daily basis?
Yes, we are.
Do we know we have people on the street every day checking this? Because the impression obviously is that we lost this one person that was doing this every day, dedicated to checking, and now the enforcement is falling off. Do we have backup data that we can rely on that says these folks are out doing this every day, that we actually have more eyes and we're doing more enforcement?
Yes, the simple answer to that is yes. We, not only do we have the data, but in fact it is true that the data does show that there has been a significant increase in the number of citations issued and the number of enforcement actions taken since we expanded, actually consistent with the original plan that the City Council adopted at the time we converted to the new trash system. The intent all along was that in addition to having the one person that you reference, that actually all of the inspectors in the city would be empowered to do this, and that's essentially what we are now implementing, because ultimately having more eyes out there is a lot more effective than having just one. To follow up on the manager's sort of analogy with respect to law enforcement, you know, every neighborhood meeting that I attend, when the police get up there and speak, they say that you know, they are very good at catching things and seeing things happen, but they can't see everything, and that's with 200 officers. Obviously, one inspector isn't going to be able to see everything either. So while you know, hopefully we aren't dependent entirely on people calling things in, that is an important part of the process as well. So the real goal is to make sure that as many instances of the illegal behavior are being documented as possible, that we are getting out and we are enforcing it. We are catching the people who are responsible, either through the camera system where we're catching the actual dumpers themselves, or if it's an issue that's ultimately related to the property, we are empowering the property owners to protect their properties from illegal dumping. And the more that the word can get out that Lowell is not a place that welcomes illegal dumping, and I'm afraid one of the unfortunate consequences of a lot of this conversation and discussion is the impression that Lowell is a place to do illegal dumping, and that's probably causing people from outside the community to bring things into the community and leave them here, and that isn't helping us either. So we need to make sure through an aggressive enforcement program like the one that we are in the process of implementing, that word gets out that this is not a place you will get caught, you will be responsible, the fines need to be significant enough that they are a genuine deterrent, and then ultimately Lowell will not be viewed as a place where illegal dumping is accepted, or your materials will get picked up.
Thank you. Just as a follow-up now, this data, at some point, and I don't know what we're going to recess, if we come back quarterly or what we're going to do on this, but if we could maybe have an explanation of how this is tracked, and, you know, I know we got the information on how many citations, but I think to get to the crux of Councilor Caulfield's, the chair's, I think, point is that we don't have the dedicated person anymore, and that's why it's increased. First of all, I'm not certain if it has increased. I think it depends on what you see or where you are. But if it has, you know, how are we justifying the method of enforcement we have, number one, and what are the results, I guess, number two. Are our fines adequate? Do we need to look at addressing our fines?
I do think that we need to look at addressing the fines, especially for things that are dumped, the mattresses, the box springs, the couches. I believe the fine for that, the first fine is $25. And that's just not a deterrent at all. So I do think that we do need to look at increasing the fines for dropping a mattress outside of someone's property.
Yeah.
Fine is $10?
25.
25.
If it's only 15 to pick up and it's 25 if you get caught, it's not tough to figure that out. Lastly, I think that, you know, Adam and others, I think we all have the same opinion. This is a situation where this is a neighborhood, it impacts a neighborhood, and if we can engage people in the neighborhoods to help and report things, but I think part of that is educating them as well. We need to educate them on what is, aside from the fact that it's ugly, what does it cost them? What does it cost you because your neighbor's putting something out illegally or someone's dropping something in your neighborhood illegally, so that folks, you know, tend to get a little more incentive when they realize that it would cost us, you know, I don't know, $450,000 to do a one time a year pickup, or $700,000, or whatever the number is, in order to help with the problem. Or we can start looking around and maybe make it easier and educate people to help us, you know, and let us know, because I think that that's another key. You know, engaging the police, but also the residents. I know many do when we do get tips, but I think that if we can educate folks on what the cost is and how easy and simple, and make it easy and simple to report things, I think that that will also help. But you know, I think that it's something that is obviously ongoing and hopefully improving, and I'm encouraged to hear that we're, you know, bringing more folks in potentially to help with this.
We have to adjourn this meeting at 5:45 because there's another discussion we have with the residential parking signs, because there's another committee meeting coming in here at 6:15. And I know Gunther Wallenstein wanted to speak, but before you do, Gunther, I'm not trying to hold you back. $25 for illegal dumping of a mattress or a bureau,
Yeah.
that's much too low. And I think $100, we should increase that right off the bat to $100. And I want to see if we can attach that to the renewal of their car license. We'll have to speak to the law department about that, but I mean, we got to play hardball here, Mr. Manager, because I'm sick and tired of people using this city as a dump.
I agree that the fine should go up, no doubt about that. We've been a little hesitant about coming in with anything that increases fees or fines or anything of the like, but we're certainly supportive of increasing the fines and really making it hurt. We have we've implemented the new hearing officer, who's been much more successful in tracking these fines down and getting these paid to the city. So that's a very positive. The registry of having it tied to the license, I think is a great idea. It would require special legislation.
We should
require
pursue
statewide
that.
legislation.
And, you know, if anyone owes the city taxes, or a water bill, whatever, they come in for a permit, they can't get it.
That's correct.
And this should be the same.
This is the same. We do tie this as well.
You did.
If we can, we do it. Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Councilman Dodson, you want to say anything on this issue? Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, Rodney.
Just a couple of things. One is I agree the fines need to be increased. It's not a fee, it's for someone who did something wrong. It needs to be punitive. The other thing is I'd like to see a centralized drop-off location. Sometimes you have an appliance that's, gee, I just got a new appliance and the old one is sitting there now. Where am I going to put it until Friday? So it's either going to be in a driveway, or then I got to remember to put it out for the day. For a lot of people, I think I find it more convenient if Allied Waste, for instance, had a centralized location very in or close to Lowell, that I could just drive it there. I'll pay the fee, but maybe half what it would be for pickup, because it's going to cost them less for me bringing it to them. I do have concerns about having just curbside pickup whenever, because of the cost. And not only because of the cost, because even if it's 1 week, they'd have to anticipate so much more tonnage. They have to have the trucks to be able to handle it. So it's going to cost us a lot more money. And it's still inconvenient. What am I supposed to do? Store it? Well, if I had it stored for 6 months or more, then on that day I can put it out. And we do need to explore that if we can have a sticker to identify those things that are scheduled for pickup. You can put a sticker on it, and then everybody would know that they called. If it's out on a curb, it's because they're waiting for it to be picked up. It's not because they put it out hoping somebody else will take it. So those are the concerns I have. But enforcement is key. We need higher, stiffer fines for when they ignore our regulations. Thank you.
Manager Lynch?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. If I could respond to Councilor Mendoza's comments regarding the drop-off. That is, I agree, and I think we all agree that a drop-off would be very useful. We are talking to the other communities in the region about a regional drop-off. We had a meeting just 2 months ago, I think it was, with those communities, and there was a couple sites in some neighboring communities that they thought were viable, and some work is being done on that. Here locally, actually Gunther has a meeting tomorrow morning, I believe, with a member of Planning and Development to look at a site here in the city on a temporary basis for a drop-off, a small piece of property for a drop-off that we might be able to put in place, with the plan then being there's a larger parcel that's currently that's city-owned, that's being cleaned up by another company right now that would be available in the future. So there were a few different balls in the air on that, but a drop-off has been proven very useful. And it can be used in a number of ways. It can be used as a drop-off for Allied Waste to come and pick up whatever's been dropped off, but it also could be used, as Councilor Mercier, I know, has mentioned in the past, the city of Worcester has something like this, where people can bring things, and then somebody else can go and pick up what they want. The town of Wellesley, I know, has an arrangement like that, and it's a very popular site for people looking to defurnish and furnish their homes.
Okay.
Councilor Elliott has it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Manager, do you have a rough number on how much the city has spent to pick up all this illegal, or to address all these illegal dumpings?
I don't have a number on that, Councilor. We can see what we can pull together on that. There's obviously the staff times that go off and pick it up in some cases, and then the tonnage. We don't break it out. We just put it in with all of the other solid waste that the city has. So we don't necessarily have a per ton. But we can maybe, let me see if we can do some estimates for you.
Well, I think it would be interesting or important to know this, because the city is spending, and it is, it are the taxpayers that are absorbing this cost, because it's not coming out of an enterprise fund. So, but I do think the program has been successful in comparison to where we were. We have saved millions. Several millions of dollars with this new program. It certainly needs to be, there are some weaknesses, but when I look back and have toured the city looking at these, apartments being emptied out, cleared out, mounds of trash, I think we have made some progress. I'm glad to hear that you're meeting soon. I did file that motion a while ago regarding a drop-off center. It's in this report. I think it makes sense. We heard from residents from the neighborhood groups last night, and I do think people are holding on, and I think it's important. We do have to make it convenient for those people that want to abide and are abiding by the ordinance, that we make it convenient. And a drop-off center, if they know there's a location, if there's a time frame where they can hold on to these things and go and drop them off, I think that's important. And so it's good to hear progress on that. So I just had one other question. I know that we're issuing citations, Adam, and they're increased. I know at a prior meeting, there was also discussion about the difficulty in trying to collect some of these citations, whether it's primarily absentee landlords that are just ignoring them, or landlords themselves. Have we made is there progress in that area? Are people paying the fines once they're being issued?
Well, there has been definitely some progress as a result of the hearing officer process, and also a more aggressive effort to convert unpaid fines to liens on property, which ultimately do get recovered. So one way or another, they do get recovered. The harder challenge with respect to a fine structure is when the culpable party is not an owner of property, but in fact someone who has brought the material from some other location and left it on somebody's property. And that's why the camera program, which again has proven to be effective on a number of locations already, and we're in the process of an interdepartmental effort to expand that program, so there will be more sets of cameras out in more locations on a unpredictable basis, so that we'll be able to catch more people. Then we're usually able to pick up a license plate or something else that gives us identifying information and allows us to go after the people who are truly responsible for it.
So, and we're rotating, we are rotating these cameras to these hotspots, and if there are locations that, residents in certain sections of the city identify as places where people are dumping regularly, is there someone that they can email or call to say, hey, look, this park just had, I know of a park that just had 10 bags of trash just dumped there.
We strongly encourage people to report anything like that as soon as they see it. It actually helps in the process. And if there are locations that people are particularly concerned about, they can either contact our Development Services Office or they can contact Gunther's office at DPW, and either one will be able to get the information, and we'll take a look at whether it's an appropriate location to add to the camera program.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Gunther, I know you've been waiting in the wings, and go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In trying to be mindful of the time, I'll just make it brief. When we instituted this program through the council and the manager's office, we knew it was going to be a work in progress. We knew that there would be, some growing pains, there would be some things that we would learn about, and it is something that's evolving and changing, and I do have a draft ready for Mr. Snow regarding some changes that we'd like to implement in the ordinance, and as soon as I meet with Kendra and the Board of Health, we'll tie that in with changes to the dumpster ordinance, which is related to solid waste, and absolutely we'll make sure that the fine structures kind of are related to the severity of dumping in the city. In terms of alternatives, if you have an appliance, if you buy it from a big box store or even a local appliance store, they have take-back programs. Oftentimes it's free. So Allied Waste is not a required vendor. Allied Waste is a convenience that we did a group pricing, so that the pricing is absolutely rock bottom. You can call any waste hauler, but if we allowed it for free clean out day, spring free clean out day, is just absolutely impossible to predict how many pieces people would put out. You could say one per house, but if I have 3, then you're going to find it at 7 Main Street, 9 Main Street, and 11 Main Street. They just get spread out that way. So I think it is important to keep a nominal fee and make the producer of the item responsible for it. If we did free, right now we don't charge the full refuse fee. A lot of it is subsidized by the general fund, and I think Councilor Elliott said, somehow the taxpayers are going to end up paying for it. I might suggest, and we'll talk about it, that if we do come out with some way to get one free sticker or one free coupon, that item that is increased in the refuse fee. So if we know that it's $15, the refuse fee would go from $125 to $140, and that way everybody gets the simple, easy appointment. And absolutely, if there are any recommendations and suggestions from the other departments or from the subcommittee, absolutely forward them to the manager's office, and I'll be more than happy to implement them and discuss them with my colleagues in Development Services.
Thank you, Gunther, and I must say that we have many, many dedicated employees in the city, and you are certainly one of them, but you're every place. Just very briefly, and I don't want to belabor this issue, but when we implemented this new program, everyone's lid was down, people were purchasing purple bags, dumpsters in businesses, the lids were closed. I no longer see that. I no longer see that. It's a catch-all, and if you want to go after me, go ahead. That's what I'm looking out there. And the violators here are multi-family units. Someone moves out, and they don't want to take that couch with them, they don't want to take the mattress, they leave it there. Well, the landlord should be responsible. The landlord's getting rent from that person, and the landlord should certainly pay the fine. So, We have a motion to bring forward, and it's a recommendation. Council Mercia.
I'd like to suggest through a motion that we increase the fine of $25 to $100, and second offense doubles it to $200. And I'd like to, the second portion of the motion would be to refer this to the city solicitor to see if we could petition the state legislature to attach licenses to this illegal dumping. Thank you. Second?
I'll second that.
Second, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Counselor Caulfield.
Yes.
Counselor Broderick.
Yes.
Counselor Mercier.
Yes.
3 yeas.
If there's nothing else to discuss, I want to thank everyone for being here, and especially in a torrential downpour. And I think this is a very important issue because we can no longer let the sidewalks of this city become a dumping grounds for somebody who, you know, it's disgraceful. So we will recess and we move on to the next agenda item. Councilor Broderick?
We recess until such time as Gunther and all the parties have gotten together to come back with ordinance changes, maybe beginning of the year or so?
Yep.
2 or 3 months?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to point out one thing. The $25 fine for 2 mattresses, it would cost them that much to get rid of them. So, and you know, 9 out of 10 times, the city is picking that stuff up. So, thank you very much. Okay, now the second part of this subcommittee meeting is the residential signs that people have throughout the city, and we do have a citizen who came forward that suggests that maybe they're not constitutional, and is Mrs. Miller here?
Sandra, did you want to speak?
I think Mrs. Miller, is she out in the hallway? Mrs. Miller, you're up at the podium. You want to come right to the podium and address the issue you brought forward?
Hi, good evening. I'm Heidi Miller. I live at 124 Beacon Street. Right before Memorial Day, I had 2 new neighbors purchase the no parking, resident-only placards. I had many people come to me asking why, because it was across the street from me. And I said, I don't know, they just don't want anyone parking in front of their house. On occasion, guests would park there. So I wanted to know if it was legal. I talked to different people. I talked to a few of you counselors. And I called 3 different parking departments here at City Hall, and no one knew what I was really talking about. One lady gave me information that it was property line to property line, which upset me because one of these residents is on a corner lot, and it's a very large lot. So that was Memorial Day weekend. I come back, and I call City Hall again. Who do I talk to? They said zoning. I said, great, this must be a mistake. We don't have a parking problem on Beacon Street. Why are they allowed to have signs? Well, anyone in the city can have a sign. Okay, I hang up. I'm mad. There shouldn't be signs up where I live. There should be signs where they're needed. In, Back Central, Pawtucket, over by the university. So I decided to have a petition. I have 141 of my neighbors sign a petition, would like the signs removed. They have a 4-car driveway in the front, 2-car in the back. They sit on a corner lot, and they have a city sign off to the side. I read the ordinance. It said in front of home. It's not in front of the home. It's on the side. The same with the resident next door. He didn't put it in front of his house. He put it off to the side. So what they like to do is they like to park their car where there isn't a sign and just leave that other spot open. But there's a sign, so you can't park there. It's a $10 fine. So what I'd like to see happen in the city is if someone needs parking, why are we attaching dwelling with vehicle when it's really vehicle? I went online, I started looking at all these different parking ordinances or laws or parking departments, and they actually charge between $25 and $10 a year to reserve, and not even a spot, a place in their neighborhood. And I feel these are public roads, and we all pay for the road. It's not my road, it's our roads. And I did a little bit more research on parking in our country. And there's been ordinances like this that reserve a spot for one person thrown out by the U.S. Supreme Court because it's against the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. It doesn't provide an equal protection of the law. So I'd like this looked at and changed and updated. Some of the signs out there have been there for 20 years. $10. If we charged more, we could maybe get more police on the street to enforce a program. People are mad. People are seeing signs and they say, oh, just park in front of the sign. They don't mean anything. The police do nothing when people park in front of my sign. We're all signed out. I mean, over on Sarah Ave, where I believe this started, over in Pawtucketville, they have sticker parking, they have placard parking. What is it? Is it both? Is it one or the other? I mean, does residents know? Do visitors know? Like, what do you need? So I'm just hoping that it's an older ordinance that we can update it and make some improvements. Maybe have city signs that a resident sticker parking. So that's what I'd like to say for tonight, and I'd like to hear what you'd all like to say.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller,
Thanks.
and I think the subcommittee can realize your frustration, and this came up years ago about the legality of these signs and whether somebody had the right to park in front of a particular sign. And from what I understand, if your car is insured and registered, you could park your vehicle on any street in the country. The issue here, when these signs first came about, if you looked at some of the streets in Back Central Street, in Lower Centerville, Lower Belvedere, neighborhoods that are congested and the streets are really narrow, if people didn't have that sign, they wouldn't have a parking space for their car. But anyone who has a driveway, especially a 2-car driveway, should not receive a sign. I mean, I think that has to be investigated before someone is issued a sign to make sure that they have ample parking. And I did speak to Solicitor Christine O'Connor today, and they could not make it tonight because they have an event that they're all attending. And I told her that we would refer it to her to come up with some legality to see where we can go with this. In some neighborhoods, the signs are warranted. But in your case, where, does your neighbor have a driveway?
The corner resident has a 4-car driveway in the front and a 2-car driveway in the back.
And they have a sign,
And
residential.
they have a city sign.
So
And
that-
across from them is a condo. They have 4 units, all taxpayers. They don't have a driveway. they must park on the street, but they can only get one sign.
Yeah.
There's never been a problem for them. They don't need a sign, they say, because, on occasion, a guest may come and park in their spot, but it's not like they're gonna park there every day.
Okay. I'm not trying to sweep this problem under the carpet, but my colleagues are gonna bring in a motion to refer it to the law department and to see the legality of the whole issue, but Manager Lynch, or anyone want to address this issue, or?
We'd be happy to look at that. I think we provided the council with a list of various alternatives, but we'd be happy to, if the council wants to look at those now, or would rather have us look at the legality issue and then come back and look at I know that it has been an issue in those more congested neighborhoods, but I do think that I think Ms. Miller points out a number of excellent points regarding, the effectiveness of these signs. If they're put up and for $10 you get a sign, you get a space for eternity.
Right.
And it doesn't seem to make the most sense, but
Have a comment in.
so we'll be happy to look at it.
Council Mercer,
Thank
Council
you,
Broderick?
thank you, Mr. Chairman. The issue here that frosts me the most is that even though this home has 4 cars,
Two. There's side by side.
yeah, in front, they believe that this no parking sign covers the whole frontage of their house, which you could probably park 3 more cars, and they think that sign is equivalent to the whole front of their house. We need clarity on this ordinance. We need structure. We need to say that if you have a driveway, you don't have the right, because I know people, I've heard through other people, I don't know them personally, but they have a sign and they're just parking in front of their house for that sign and never using their garage, or their driveway, and that's not right. So we have to retool this, revisit it, clarify it, and I'd like to make a motion to refer your concern to the solicitor to revisit this, and I know she'll get help from the proper people to make that happen. Yeah.
Seconded by Council Broderick. Roll call, Mr. Clerk. We want to make sure we get that in.
We have some
Counselor-
discussion first.
We can take a roll call on the motion.
Okay.
Roll call on the motion?
Counselor Caulfield.
Yes.
Counselor Broderick.
Yes.
Counselor Mercier.
Yes.
3 yeas.
Council Elliott? Oh, wait a minute. Council Broderick and then Council Elliott.
I'll be real brief. I think that it's a good idea to get an opinion as to the legality of the signs first and foremost, and if they are legal and we want to continue the practice in certain areas, I think we have to figure out a way to come up with some standards and what the application is going to be and what the application fee, renewal, and the like. It sounds like it's something that's just kind of flown under the radar, and if it is being abused, we can certainly make a change, but I think we need to find out, first of all, if they are legal and enforceable, and then decide what's going to be, if they're going to be applications now and they're going to be standards set, who's going to determine, and what, maybe the cost has to be adjusted because now we're going to have, is this something that goes before the Zoning Board of Appeals? Is it going to be the Building Department? I think we need to clarify how all that's going to be done. But thank you for coming down and speaking, and I think Council Elliott filed the motion, so thank you, Council.
Council Elliott?
You're welcome. Thank you, Council Broderick. And I did file it because it's a challenge, and different neighborhoods have different, different issues. I know Pawtucketville is, when school's in session, the students coming and parking on the street is a major problem. It's been on the floor of the council before. I agree. I think with Ms. Miller and the manager, I think it's a program that was well intended. Whether it's legal or not would be good to find out, but I think it needs to be revamped, needs to be retooled. It seems like permit parking. I know I lived in Boston for a little while when I was going to school, and you have to get a permit, and you can only, if you live in the Back Bay, you have a permit to park in the Back Bay. If you live in Charlestown or some other area, that's where you can park. And maybe that's the direction. We did get the report from the manager, Mr. Bakey, that outlined some recommendation, and it seems there will continue to be a need for parking and parking permits, but at this point, it does seem like it is being abused by certain individuals that don't need the parking. They have ample parking. And then on the other hand, back central, other sections of the city, there's, there's clearly a limited supply. There's limited parking available, and we need to have some program in place. So I want to thank the subcommittee for taking up this motion, referring it to the manager in the law department. I think it's long overdue, and so thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Oh, Joe.
Councilman Mendoza?
Just a point of clarification, because I looked at this ordinance recently. I own a property. The tenant wanted one of these reserved parking areas. And what I found out was that every property can have one space reserved. But the exclusion for the driveway only applies in back central because about 10 years ago, maybe a little more, they complained about people having a driveway and the sign, and the ordinance was amended to prohibit people who had driveways from getting a placard, but only in back central. So everywhere else, the driveway exclusion doesn't matter. But it is supposed to be regardless, only one space, not the entire property line. And wherever they're supposed to put the sign to identify that space. And now, of course, they might park in other areas along the sidewalk and somehow think that space is reserved, and that would be a gray area. So it's certainly worth reviewing, but there should only be one space per property that's reserved. The rest should be open to anyone else in the neighborhood. And you could look at the driveway exclusion. In the case of like a two-family, even though there's a driveway, there might be one unit using the driveway and the other unit has nowhere to park. So you're going to have to consider that as you move forward. But again, it still is only one reserved space per property. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Council. You know what we can do? We can recess the illegal dumping and this parking issue and come back with the law department on this issue and also come up with recommendations on illegal dumping. And what we'll do is we'll recess this meeting and we'll reschedule it for a future date. And two important issues. And I think Councilman Donson brought out a good point. If there's an ordinance there that prohibits somebody from getting a sign with a driveway, it only applies to back Central Street. Maybe we can use that as a broad brush throughout the city and address Mrs. Miller's concerns. Do you have that petition, Mrs. Miller? I'd like to give it to the clerk to put it on a record. You already have it, Brian?
I believe it was...
Oh, you have it already?
It was submitted when Councilor Elliott made the motion, and we have that.
There's another meeting coming in here in 10 minutes, and I just want to thank everyone for coming out in this torrential rain, and I think we made some progress. And Tom Moses brought out a great point on the illegal dumping. A landlord gets a security deposit, and that security deposit could be deducted if a tenant leaves a mess in front of the, so there's ways and means to address this particular issue and keep the city cleaner. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn or recess?
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, bye.